Okay, so we're looking at Missy, which is Wendy's cat.
Hey, Ari
Great.
Moshe.
Hey,
It's
Wendy.
it's actually a client, okay?
Okay.
So I just thought this was like too fascinating to pass up this chart.
Okay.
So I just talked to this cat this morning, and I've been doing a lot of communicating lately, and sometimes I look at their charts based depending on what's going on. And I'm changing my glasses because I can't really see it. Okay. So this friend of mine called me, and she's a Kundalini yoga teacher, body worker, artist,
So is
and
the
she's got
cat.
this. Yes, I know. It's my. I know. It's just too cool. So she had she's got this like really neat house, and the cat. She just adopted the cat in like March or something, and she said when she got the cat, it was like really wild. And then when she allowed the cat to go outside, the cat kind of calmed down some. And I should have posted the picture of the cat. But so when I tuned in to talk to the cat today, the first thing I felt was this really chaotic third eye. Like, and of course, I don't know the time, the birth time. So these houses are not
Okay.
correct.
Is it just like a sun on the midheaven? Is that what you programmed?
I just put a noon chart.
Okay.
I just put a noon chart. Yeah. I'm pretty positive the moon is in Gemini. It's definitely not in Cancer. She said it was either the 9th or the 10th or the 11th. So I'm going with this Gemini moon. Anyway, so it was really strange, this chaotic energy. So what happened yesterday is the cat attacked her. And so I was talking to her about what she was thinking when this happened. And my friend was thinking about this family secret, and that she's like getting ready to take this action, and should she take it? Are there going to be consequences? And, you know, is it going to reveal the truth or make things worse? And so this is when the cat attacked her, right? So anyway, it's very clear that she's supposed to move forward with whatever she's supposed to do. And the cat is really intense, really, really intense, really like in her body, wants to be active all the time. And so I decided to look at the chart, like South Node in Aries, Mars is conjunct, culminating with Pluto. Look at all that Scorpio. So the cat is so reflecting everything she's thinking. And especially with the eclipse. Oh, shoot, I'm getting this interrupted call. Hold on, let me just turn it off. And I don't know. I just thought it would be fun to look at the chart because look at all that Scorpio.
Yeah.
And then Mars and Pluto, and it's squaring the nodes.
Squaring the nodes, that's right.
So I just thought maybe you could say something about the chart, about all of that.
Loosely, I want to be super, careful, especially because this is being recorded. Folks don't really do this at home unless it's like really playful and just kind of fun, because we don't even know the exact date, but everything that Wendy described is of course super resonant, and it's pointing to the principle that what I find is the animals that we live with very much are reflections of our own journey in the most potent and direct ways. I consistently notice that. So just to play, because it's fun.
Yes.
With these with these signatures, we have Mars, Pluto, and it seems from the dates that you gave, Mars wouldn't have passed Pluto no matter what date you chose. So it's definitely a Mars, Pluto balsamic. So it's actually bringing to completion issues around authority, Capricorn, and asserting will, Mars. And there'd be, if we look at this cat's unique signature as reflecting a piece for this person, then we can creatively, playfully posit that there might be something around Libra, communication, Scorpio ruling that with Saturn, kind of like empowering herself to listen to herself, speak herself, regardless of judgment or authority issues, and coming back to Saturn rules like Capricorn, that Mars, Pluto ruling, squaring the nodes, focusing through the Libra. It's like connecting to a greater will. And, if we're in general in life, if this is a general Mars thing, especially if you have a Mars balsamic to Pluto, we can find ourselves coming into situations where there are accidents or violence or things like that that are just happening. And it doesn't mean we're being violent, or doesn't mean that we're resonating the same thoughts. In fact, it can mean the very opposite, that we're not in touch with our own will. So it's energy that's being leaked, and it has to express, it has to come back and express and reflect itself back to us. You know, people getting really angry at us, or being attacked, and it's in a sense instigating and pushing us in a sense to connect with our own will. So I can see, you know, creatively how that works. If we wanted to make this cat, if you wanted to actually make this chart for this cat and to give this cat some fun life personality to it, I would say this cat would be an excellent Kundalini yoga teacher. Venus conjunct Saturn in Scorpio in the 10th house, right? Venus is body. Scorpio is the soul. Saturn in 10th house is authority. Yogi Bhajan actually had Saturn in the 10th house as well. It's Scorpio. This is you're an authority of the soul. And Venus is, of course, resonant with the notion of yoga in the sense of working with the body. So this being resonates very much with someone such as the one that this cat is living with, who is inherently psychosomatic, very tuned into the body-soul connection. That's probably as far as I should go. Do you want to add anything, Wendy?
Thank you, Ari. I just thought it was a fascinating chart, and Uranus squaring Pluto and Mars, and I was like, wow, look at this chart.
Honestly, that would be an amazing thesis for a book, because it's already, we know intuitively that this principle of our animals reflecting us in such direct ways, and then to work with the astrology in that way. I think that'd be a really cool project.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this chart. I'm teaching in November. I'm going to Europe to teach animal communication if it all comes forward, and I'm going to bring this chart. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Carolyn has a question. Please go ahead, and I'll bring up your chart.
Hi, Ari.
Hi, Carolyn.
I'd just like to say that my cat, Kelsey Surprise, this is the first webinar that she's ever deigned to attend. She came to me as a rescue in February and has been slow to...
There she goes.
And there she's gone. She's made her introduction. So what I really want you to look at is Uranus is conjunct my ascendant, is crossing my ascendant, and apparently, I mean, I'm prone to crossing bridges before I come to them and getting upset all my life. And right now, I'm good. I'm really good. And I wonder if I'm in denial, because I've certainly have a history of denial. You laughing at me.
Not at you. No. I'm just appreciating.
Laughing at my chart. Worse yet. Oh,
no. I'm appreciating what you're saying, that you're good. And then there's the follow-up to that is, and I'm wondering if there's an issue with that.
Yeah.
And I see your, 6th house. Anyway, keep on going, please. I'm not laughing at you.
So I thought I was really on a bit of a high. And then I asked somebody, and she pointed out that when Uranus actually crosses my ascendant into the first house, which will happen in May 2018, it could be really rough. So I decided to worry about that for a while, and then I just... Oh, good. I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't keep worrying about it. And I haven't talked about this much. I've had an infection. I have an infection in my back. It's going to be operated on in September. And it feels like it's a stab wound from many, many past lifetimes. And this one. And it's being stabbed in the back. So as I said, I've got Uranus out of bounds in my third, so it's hard to stay on track. I'm practicing. So what I'm really interested in is Uranus, which is my natal Jupiter, with Saturn transiting Saturn conjunct that. Uranus will also be trine the eclipse, which is conjunct my Venus, and then it's going to be conjunct, no, it's going to be trine, or the eclipse will be conjunct my natal Saturn in the 5th at 1 Virgo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take a moment and just tune into this. All right, so the first thing I want to say, the projection that we often hear from so many astrologers and even intuitives and psychics and whatever, whenever we hear anyone say anything about the future, I often advise to completely ignore it or integrate if there's something that comes up there. But it's so often the case that we just project our own ideas or beliefs or notions, or a lot of psychics will have visions or sense or how we all receive in different ways, and that often gets interpreted in a literal way, whereas it's not necessarily that. Big traumatic things that we think might happen one night in our dreams, and then it's done. So when it comes to Uranus passing over the ascendant, the core evolutionary intention in that signature is releasing the past, liberation from the context that we've known, so we can start a whole new cycle. And it's freeing ourselves up to have a whole bunch of new energy that comes from our infinite self to follow our own path with nothing else getting in the way of that. And any projections or fear that comes up with Uranus moving into the first house ultimately corresponds to where we associated my freedom, my forward movement, my independence, which also means like my permission to live a joyful life, my permission to follow my heart and to feel good about myself, to trust myself. You have a lot of 6th house, you have a Virgo moon. So obviously there's a lot of stuff here around self-doubt. And so to fully acknowledge and honor the possibility to just be free, and that life gets to kind of be this new experience where freedom is the foundation, not solving crisis, not solving problems. So I want to hold that possibility for you. But where those projections come up, it's really just in our own mind, where we have associations. Freedom and independence means this. And that's a basic Uranus thing where we unravel. We see clearly how we make associations in our own mind, but none of it's inherently true. So we had this eclipse, so many people having this strong Venus connection to the eclipses. This is the 3rd or 4th time we looked at this. In Leo, on the North Node. So one of the pieces in your chart, speaking to the backstabbing, you have the South Node in Scorpio in the 7th house. And that's ruled by Pluto. And we also have Ceres there in Leo, both in the 4th house. We have Mars stabbing, and also Mercury conjunct the South Node, and also Chiron's there as well. And I consider that Mars conjunct, it's like all in the same vicinity. When I think of conjunctions, I'm not really thinking so much about orb, how many degrees, I'm thinking in terms of process. Right? So everything is always waning or waxing relative to something else. So all those planets are definitely within connection to your South Node for sure. And so I'm just tune into this. The underlying issue here corresponds to emotional dependency and trust. Dependency, the 4th house seeing Scorpio, Pluto is trust. So trusting others, giving others, but with Pluto in the 4th really corresponding to like with your whole being. Like with the kind of trust that says, I'm going to depend on you to take care of me, to love me, to be there for me, that I can depend on you emotionally. And having the rug pulled out from underneath you, and that being Mars on the South Node and Scorpio in the 7th house. the situation where you're giving, you're in relationship, and then people are manipulating, people are taking. And Mars and Scorpio can be very violent. So the thing you spoke about might be true, but you're feeling it emotionally, the archetype of being backstabbed. We see your North nodes in Taurus in the first house. Of course, a part of this evolutionary journey is not just self-reliance, also trusting your instincts. It's like, trust your gut. You know, just like you mentioned, crossing bridges before you get to them. That Taurus in the first house is like, let me make sure there's a bridge here. Test the waters. Can I trust this person? Am I stable and grounded in myself? Am I honoring myself? Those would be basic aspects here. And with Venus conjunct Saturn ruling that, so obviously what's coming up right now with this eclipse would be a deepening self-respect and self-honor for your own purpose and your own authority. That Saturn conjunct Venus, Saturn in Virgo, Venus is balsamic, it's moving into a completion of a Saturn, is about releasing and bringing to completion all kinds of ways in which your own inner authority has actually been outsourced to the external. This would be coming into a trust of self that doesn't know the notions of inferiority or superiority. It's a sense of honor and self-respect. And that Saturn in Virgo is, I have work to do. So I'm going to honor my own independence, my own freedom. And not just, I think that Saturn, Venus, since Venus is ruling the North Node, one correlation with that would be, to some degree, not having completely trusted and honored your own body intelligence, your own intuitive and your own cellular information, and the importance of you honoring that you are a sovereign queen. You are a being that has importance, that has work to do in this world, almost like displacing that onto others. And that's something that I imagine would have come up a lot in relationship. And then it's almost like the archetype of a child that's left alone, and no one's there to recognize her, and no one's there to see her and appreciate and honor her. And it's like, well, that Venus Saturn is, you got to really grow up. It's a part of that too. It's like spiritually come into an honoring and acceptance of your own authority and own that. And that Saturn in Virgo with all that Libra as well, noting that Venus rules all that Libra in the 6th, yet Neptune there, Moon, Sun, balsamic. It seems like at some point in the past you would have chosen a lifetime. It feels like rags to riches, actually. Like having been, you know, queen, sovereign, important, and then being betrayed, totally devastated by that, deeply hurt, not having fully processed that or integrated that this is actually about you coming into your own eternal power and manifesting lifetimes of like inferiority, less than others, and recreating the situation of being betrayed, not being supported, until you claim, this comes to what you're saying, claiming that you can actually have an easy and joyful and simple life, and that you got it under control. 6th house, it's all good. Until that's realized, there's a part of you that thinks you need something from the outside, that you're fundamentally lacking something. And that recreates a situation of getting into relationships and giving power away. So the idea of like there's always a problem and something to fix resonates very, very well with also the feeling of I'm lacking something inside of myself. I need others. I can't trust and totally honor my own self on my own. So I want to just, and that's, you know, the smile comes from that, because I also relate to that. I have a lot of Virgo, and it's like everything is okay right now, and I'll search my mind for like, wasn't there something I was worrying about yesterday? What was that? Just trying to, I think there's something unresolved that I haven't quite dealt with yet. And there's just something really beautiful in giving yourself that permission to feel okay and to actually hold that okayness without any kind of comparison or standard. Libra in the 6th house can compare a lot. So your beauty and your gift, what you are offering just through your being, is something to actually swim in. So that's what it feels like this eclipse is really moving more into, just enjoying your own smell, enjoying, you know, Taurus, Venus, enjoying your own essence, appreciating that. And then all that 6th house, you can just give, you can just be in service, you can share yourself and not hold the sense of like, somehow I'm not doing enough, or somehow what I'm doing isn't good enough, or I have to do what other people are doing. It's like, no, you got your thing going, and this is just urging you more, you know, to honor that and just let it unfold in its way. So I invite you to speak or share anything or ask anything further on this.
What you're saying, I so agree with, and it, as much as I'm going to you and say, Ari, can you tell me this isn't that? You know, but at the same time, I've kind of giggled when I've said, "Oh, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. It's I can't think when somebody's talking."
Oh, well,
Okay. Oh, is that
I understand.
Evu? Okay.
Oh, they're not. It's in the vicinity. Think of it as just
Okay.
background noise.
I can do that. I guess I want to tell you that I've always trusted omens from God. I think that's on the Neptune. And I think that I will learn to trust my own instincts because they're good.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still be a psychic, I can still be a healer, I can still be a teacher of big and little children, but it's, I can have it all.
Yes, I can see how core that is for you, Carolyn. I really honor that. Because the notion of trusting omens from God can easily become this, and it's a very Virgo kind of thing. It's also Virgo mixed with Sag, but very essentially Virgo of I'm not getting it, I'm not doing it right, I'm missing something, I need something from the outside to clarify and show me the right way. It's founded on an underlying sense of doubt, assuming that we can't get those impulses directly from our own being. And so much in our own conditioning, and this is strong in Virgo, and also in Sag, we have our own intuitive or instinctual or body sense of what's true, of where the work is, where to refine, where the healing wants to be, or what foods to eat, or how to be in service. In this case, Libra in the 6th, how to give to another, how to follow your calling to be in service in the world. And then totally doubting it because no one else is doing it or no one else is validating that. There's nothing on the outside that can externally reflect and validate, yes, this is what God wants of you. So needing to pull a card, needing to get advice from someone, needing to go to a psychic, needing to somehow, and it's like the deeper teaching I'm finding is a knowing that by its very nature could not possibly have validation, because to even go into that realm would be taking us from the directness of it. So it's a knowing that cannot be proven or explained, and it makes no sense. And relative to Uranus, it's like, you know you're there because you realize the only thing that suggests not to be there are thoughts. That, like, the only thing that suggests this isn't right is the thought, maybe I'm wrong. And you get to see, well, if that's the only thing, I can just actually give myself permission to be free.
I've not always been looking for answers. I've often sat on my couch, eaten a lot of ice cream, and waited for God to say something. And so God says, okay, I'll tell this person to tell you you'd be a good teacher. So 30 years, I was a great teacher. God said, okay, get off your couch and move to Los Angeles for a year and be a snowback and work in a security bank and just do it. So there's been a lot of paralysis. That's what I want to speak to. I'm looking to the paralysis to be gone.
Tell me a little bit about the thought forms that arise. Because I'm hearing you get the direction, you get the direct guidance, and you go and you do it. But then there's also this other side of not having the guidance, not having the direction. And so speak to me about what are the thought patterns that arise for you in the state of paralysis? Like, what occurs to you?
Let's eat some more ice cream and watch TV. And so that I don't get really hysterical. I've numbed out. Kaipacha in January 2016 said that my Sun and Neptune showed a person who had lost herself. And it's like sometimes I would overthink in my life, but the paralysis, it's like you're safe if you're not moving. That was it. Don't put your head up. Don't be the tall poppy. Just keep low. Try to be invisible. But then I have Jupiter trine my ascendant, and keeping my mouth shut is not always easy. There's a knee-jerk, it just whatever comes out, and it doesn't always make me very popular.
What is it you're afraid of? Like if you move through the inertia, what will happen? What's the projection that occurs to you?
If I speak too loudly or too much, I'll get killed.
Okay.
Keeping it very, very, very brief, I've recently, with my psychiatrist, uncovered childhood molestation that I'm sure everybody knew about, and I was just told to be quiet. I would have been 8. So I've always been told to shut up. So it's like my mother's favorite phrase was least said, soonest mended.
Okay.
So don't speak.
Yeah.
So the paralysis, it's easier to do nothing at all than to make a mistake. That's where the paralysis comes from.
Yeah.
It's easier to say nothing than to open your mouth and say the wrong thing.
Let me tune into for this. I want to tune into this free for a moment. So the first thing that comes is just honoring the fact that this is like an unraveling, like you're in this process of claiming power. And part of it is the seat of power, the place from which you do open your mouth, you do speak. In the past, you haven't fully understood who you are. So it's like a queen dressed in rags trying to convince herself that she's a queen. But this is about knowing what you are and letting that inform your actions. We have Mercury on the South Node right there, so that can very directly speak to exactly what you're talking about in Scorpio in the 7th house. And just in general, Uranus trining that, in the 3rd house, you have awareness of this, but Uranus in the 3rd house can very much be persecution for speaking and for speaking your mind freely. And so that's ruled by the moon in Virgo. So there's a lot of self-awareness, self-reflection. And so Virgo can really lead to inertia. Just being so aware of what needs to be done, but not doing it. And what happens in Virgo is we create in the 6th house these ideas of what it's supposed to look like. These notions of what I'm supposed to be doing, but our notion of what we're supposed to be doing isn't actually what we're supposed to be doing. There's not a supposed to. And so it creates this whole chasm of I should be, but I'm not, and I can't, but I should be. Moving beyond this and setting yourself solid in a greater love. It's this whole journey and this healing work that you're doing is perfect and beautiful because it's restoring honor and dignity and care to the depth of your being. Pluto in the 4th house in Leo. It's restoring honor. And as you come more and more into knowing what you are, there is not the question of doing, it's a question of being. It's a question of being what you are, and your words and your actions speak naturally and authentically from that place. In fact, with your Jupiter trining your Aries, given your Mars on Scorpio, it's almost like you recreate these experiences for yourself as speaking and then feeling like there's some sort of backlash that occurs for you, or feeling immediately unsafe, or like there's danger after speaking. So part of what I would suggest is to really focus on, it's like when there's trauma, we often just replay the same experiences. What I'm wanting to suggest is let the place from which you speak be a shifting point for you. not convincing anything of anyone, not explaining anything to anyone, not needing others to believe or understand, but actually coming from a place of speaking truth, honoring and knowing who you are, honoring your own beauty, and only letting that inform, like seeing how that informs and inspires how you express yourself in the world. And the other piece is with your Neptune sun and that being ruled by your Venus in Leo, balsamic to Saturn, I definitely want to suggest that there is a tendency to create more of what you're called to do than it actually is. Like there's something so simple about just doing your work and letting go and moving on. But coming from a place of where the work is your own healing, the work is your own empowerment. So it doesn't feel like this big thing that you have to do. Because in spirit language, there's no such thing as a big thing that we have to do. There's none of that exists. It's just the natural flow of what it is. So I'll keep that there. Does that make sense for you?
Oh, Ari, it really, really does. I thank you. You've filled me up. You've, without taking from me. It's.
I feel that.
I trust you. Okay. Thank you.
You are so sweet, Karen. Thank you so much for the opportunity to see you and offer that to you. Yeah.
Okay, we have Alice with a question next. I will need a few minutes to draw up a synastry. Okay. So Alice, please go ahead.
Hi, Ari.
Hi, Alice.
How are you doing?
Great.
Okay. I've been sort of curious about a specific event in my life. It's been something that's been on my mind since it happened, essentially. But I realize all the information hasn't been available to me. You'll see it when you look at it. The chart is the passing of my father. He died overseas, and I don't exactly know what happened to him. While it was happening, Saturn was sitting on my moon, which is in a very tight sextile to my Saturn-Uranus conjunction in the 4th. Right now I'm going through my Saturn return. Uranus is opposing my moon, so making a nice trine to that Saturn-Uranus conjunction. And the Mercury of that event chart when my father passed away actually sits right on the sun of this Leo eclipse. At the time when it happened, it was opposing Neptune. So, I mean, I think you can imagine how much information might be missing there for me. It's a lot. And I don't necessarily think that you'd have the answers as to why that happened, because, I mean, I've looked all over. Nobody has had the answers for that yet. I think it'll come to me in time. But it would be interesting if you have anything to observe in regards to how this is going to play out for me in my Saturn return, because I get the sense that it is.
So is a part of this is you don't know how he died?
I don't know how he died. And the sense of uncertainty there, I don't have an issue with the grieving process anymore. I've passed through that, and there's been an immense amount of self-growth that came from his passing. I don't think that I would be anywhere near as happy and self-fulfilled today if he hadn't passed away. I think more of it is just any tools you might suggest for dealing with this process, as I know that it's sort of like an intensification that's happening now that'll pass in December when Saturn moves out of Sag and into Capricorn. And just with Jupiter and Uranus, like they're opposing one another right on my moon.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the intensification that's happening now in terms of like what is actually happening on the inside, like what's occurring for you.
So, I mean, Tova and I have been going through a lot of it, and for me right now, it's just sort of, I used to think that I have a lot of emotions that I still need to process, and that's probably true. I don't think that I've processed how unfair the circumstances surrounding it were. Like, it was very strange what happened. He was working overseas for a company. They didn't handle it well. And I think I think I'm trying to, like, purge everything that I've been through and sort of, let it go to make space for a new narrative. I got married this summer. I'm in a really happy relationship. I moved to a new country. I like completely changed my life path, and I'm sort of on where I need to be in terms of like where my career direction is going. I just feel like there's this like old baggage there still with this. And, you know, like I'm happy and I am ready to let it go. And it's just hard to grapple with exactly what's going on there.
Okay. So let's see your chart. Linda, is that ready? And just so everyone knows, I'm sharing my left earbud with my friend.
No, not
So
yet.
she can follow along.
I just need one more minute.
Okay.
Okay.
No worries. So you see they have a Mercury-Neptune opposition?
The event chart for his passing does, yeah.
This chart, okay.
I have a Neptune rule chart too. Not Neptune. I'm a Mercury rule chart. I'm Virgo rising. You are too, I think.
I am, yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just got a message from Dawn. That's okay, actually, Dawn, if you want to put them up.
Linda, if you're having difficulty getting the charts up, I could just put them up. I was just telling Alice that they just wouldn't have the privacy there.
I'm fine with it. I'm not really concerned.
Looks like she's got it.
Looks like she's got it. Okay.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So outer wheel, so you're in the inner, and
yeah.
Outer wheel is your father's passing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take a moment and ignore all those symbols and just try to tune into the central circle. So we have South Node in Virgo, Venus and Mercury retrograde squaring that. All in the house, traditionally, of father, 10th house. Okay, and Uranus, Saturn as well, opposite. There, okay. Okay. What did your father do for a living?
He was an exploration geologist.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So just in support to you further, oh, we've worked together before. That's right. I looked at your chart.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, a month ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So just to further support in understanding at least the reflection of what this is. So understanding 10th house corresponds to father as well as the structural reality that we're on one level raised in, the containers, the boundaries that holds us, that helps us learn how to live and behave in this human being world in a good way, that harmonizes and works well. So we learn responsibility in the 10th house. Mm-hmm. And as you know, such a big part of this journey for you, that Venus, Mercury, both retrograde in Gemini in the 10th house, is not needing to pigeonhole your work or your expression in this world according to any sense of obligation or duty or whatever. It's like there's a sense of receiving with that Pisces 7th house North Node. And relative to the Virgo and all that 10th house, it's almost like the existing karmic pattern might be something around the duplicitous, pretending to be something that you're not, underlying a sense of like guilt. I'm not allowed to just really receive and actually just play and be who I am. So with your father passing with Jupiter moving right over all those planets, it's interesting how Jupiter works sometimes. I've seen this before. Jupiter very often will bring a loss of something or someone. And Jupiter is, of course, about the expansion of awareness. It's how we understand more about reality. Seeing this happening as Jupiter is squaring your nodes in the 10th house, moving over all the signatures, makes me curious about, exactly what you're exploring right now. There's like a journey, a calling to find more of the truth, to understand this more clearly. I want to just tune into this for a moment. the best that I can offer in terms of just offering another piece, if this is helpful or not, is having greater perspective relative to how your own father's legacy, how he lived, how he worked, how he moved, how much he felt like he can be himself, fully himself in this world. Seeing if there's any reflection for you in terms of what you're integrating and healing. And there's something interesting about death, which is, again, from the spirit's perspective, death is never at all how we tend to see it. Sometimes like death is like good luck. It's like a really good thing. We just have such a limiting perspective because we're so identified with the form and with what we can see and hold on to and know and identify. But from spirit's point of view, there's no real death. He didn't go anywhere, just the form. And so seeing Jupiter up there, I would just want to invite, and I know that you're in a grieving process and that's there, and there are more, well, you mentioned you mostly went through that, but whatever's still present for you, I just want to add the possibility of giving yourself the permission to actually just start talking to him, like having dialogue with him and accepting and honoring the fact that there hasn't really been a death, that there's just a changing in form, the changing in availability. And with your Pisces North Node conjunct Mars, this is very much about opening your own spirit, opening your own crown chakra, listening to your dreams. One thing I find relative to Pisces, especially if you have Mercury involved in it, the second a question shifts from an anxiousness or a sense of fear or dread around not knowing, and it shifts into a sense of gratitude and mystery and wonder, in that exact moment, that's where we become receptive to receive, because spirit can only meet us when we elevate ourselves to that consciousness. So we bring ourselves into a state of appreciation for oneness, for the closeness. And it's in that place that we can actually connect and receive the closeness, receive the oneness. You mentioned something about the eclipse points. So Mercury was at the eclipse point. So this might represent eclipse bringing stuff in and out, Mercury information. Since it's a portal, the one piece I might offer is you can create ceremony around this. And again, the way to create ceremony, in my view, is not touch a strong agenda. It's just coming from a place of gratitude where it's about honoring and connecting and expressing the love and being open to learn and receiving and letting go. And the way that you ground yourself is really what determines how you are receptive to what comes through. So yeah, I can see one creative correlation. I've seen that before working with death chart as well as transits to the charts of people that have died, like new information about Michael Jackson's death coming out when Mercury's passing over a certain planet already after he died, things like that. So this is normal because time is just a construct that exists secondary. It's a derivative function from the original one source. It's not the original. So all of these things can be investigated, and we can go in all kinds of directions with time. That's main part of how astrology works and all the different things you can do with it. That's what I got for you. Anything else that you want to speak to or ask about?
No, that was actually really lovely. Really interesting thing, you mentioned Jupiter sitting in the 10th house on my Venus and sitting next to my Mercury as well and squaring the nodes.
Yeah.
My father absolutely loved what he did for work, and at the time when he passed, I was in university and I was doing a sociology degree, and I had to just completely drop that because of the grief and just the financial process. Saturn sitting on my moon in the second, you can imagine. But it really made me sit down and think about what I wanted to do and what I loved to do. And there was this process of removal of people from my life that I didn't feel were honoring who I was and didn't want me to be who I was. And I know now, I mean, a few years later, it's been 5 years now almost, that, I mean, I know I love what I do. The person that I met that I'm married to now, that never would have happened if I had never lost my father. The sense of work ethic and knowing what I'm working towards and a sense of purpose. I didn't have that before he passed away.
And what's that?
And that's just, you know, like a huge gift. It really.
And these are all qualities that he had himself. Is that what you're saying as well?
Loving his own work, but I feel like I've been released from the process of having to appear a certain way as well.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in a narcissistic family. My mother was a narcissist, and my father was always pandering to that. And for him,
okay.
it was a release of that.
Okay.
He didn't have to go back and deal with it. He left before that process of letting go had happened. They were about to divorce, and that also gave me a way to leave the situation as well, to say, you know what, that isn't what I want for myself. That isn't honoring myself. That isn't honoring my emotions. That isn't honoring my sense of security, with the Saturn in the fourth house as well.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah, and that further explains the 10th house planet squaring the nodes, and the pandering, and knowing how to be and who to be for your mother. We also have Neptune in the 5th house in Capricorn. You know, Neptune can be the most vulnerable, fragile being, or it can be the most powerful. And it's ruled by Saturn. So I can see how that would relate to him owning his own truth, his own emotional strength, his own emotional honesty, and honoring himself in that way. And Jupiter moving over those planets, that's a great example of Jupiter. It's like he left and a space was opened up for you. It's like the remover of obstacles in that way.
Yeah.
So that's a really great example of how Jupiter works. Not to belittle the full meaning of your father, but like the things that opened up for you as a result. Yeah.
Huh. That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing.
I've seen that a few times where like strong Jupiter transits happen in someone's eyes, and like this whole new world opens up for people. And that's the thing, is we often lack accurate ways of understanding death.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Yeah.
It's strange. Before this transit happened and I lost my father, I was actually considering becoming a mortician, and I was really interested in becoming a death doula. And then after that occurred, I was like, you know what? I think I get it now. I don't need to do that. It was like as if I was like yearning to let go of something. And
Interesting.
then after that, I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with it anymore. I'm good.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else, or how are we doing on time, Linda?
Okay, we have about 10 minutes left, so I have
Thank you, Alice.
One more chart. Oh, sorry, Alice. One more chart to draw up. So, Carly, please go ahead.
Hi, Ari Moshe. How are you?
Hey, Carly. Good.
Nice to see you. Yeah, I was just curious about your own chart, and with the upcoming eclipse, where it was affecting your chart and how you're feeling about it.
Let me tune into where I want to go, if I want to go there. 1 second.
Okay, fair enough.
The biggest thing, Linda, you can pull up my chart if you want. The biggest thing that I'll say is this eclipse is squaring my Chiron. I'm not going to talk about my moon. I'll talk about my Chiron. It's squaring my moon and my Chiron. I have Chiron in the 9th house in Taurus. The interesting connection between Taurus in the 9th house is Taurus is about don't pick up a pinky. Like, do nothing. Like the essence, not in a lazy, hopefully not in a lazy way. The essence of Taurus is this quality of ease and grace. It's very much the embodied expression of spirit moving through form. It's the Tao. So things happen, life moves, but there's a sense of effortlessness that comes with it. Whereas the 9th house is the journey. There's a lot to see, a lot to go, a lot to learn, a lot to experience, things that I need to find out and find and discover and experience. And Taurus is like, whoa, slow down, slow down. And this Taurus is forming a yod to my Venus, Pluto in the 2nd, and my Mercury, Neptune in the 4th. So all of that in combination is like, be stable, be at home, be grounded and steady in yourself. Oh, you can keep on sharing the screen. Yeah. Be stable and grounded in yourself while in motion. 9th house, 4th house. So I'll share one little interesting tidbit from my journey right now. I've received many invites to go many places. And of course, the Sag in me is like, oh, great, another adventure. I can get on a plane, go somewhere else. And what's been emerging more strongly in me is my own sense of embodiment and presence and well-being, what I carry with me in my body as I move. And I'm actually more interested at this time in how I move through life than where I'm going to. Because I'm starting to get the Sagittarius punchline, which is the journey is a destination, which is right now. And that's a really great thing to get for Taurus in the 9th house. And you know, the wounded healer, the archetype of Chiron there is an underlying sense of maybe I'm a teacher, maybe I'm traveling, maybe I'm doing all these things, but inwardly I don't feel stable and authentic within myself. So for my whole life, I've had this feeling of I'm a phony, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't have what I need. I'm fundamentally lacking in essential self-esteem. And thus my work in life with Venus, Pluto in the 2nd house, and that Chiron up there is helping people love themselves, like really supporting people in their own self-esteem and all that kind of stuff. But all the while for many years have felt fundamentally like I am not whole. Thus, when I don't feel that I'm whole, what I will often do is I'll overcompensate Sagittarius with something that will prove like I have something worth. All that 3rd house planets in the Sag as well is overcompensating with knowledge and information. And relative to that Chiron, it's needing to somehow validate that I don't have the inner riches of wisdom in myself, Taurus in the 9th. I don't have the capacity to directly know the truth on my own. So needing to hide behind a philosophy, a cosmology, a way of being, hiding behind being a teacher. So what's emerging for me right now is I'm following my body, I'm following my heart, I'm following the sense of ease and well-being as the way that I move. And I don't see options that are showing up in my life as, yes, do this or no, do this. I'm holding it all as a possibility. And I'm using my own sense of presence as the directive for if and how and when I can move towards any of these things. And I'm finding that all answers that I have about my life and all certainties that I have are completely shifting. I move with ease, and the opportunity to be in service arises of itself. I'm cultivating my path. So this eclipse is happening in my 12th house, Leo in the 12th. And a big part of my work in life is redefining my own creative essence, liberating from existing, because Uranus, Sun are conjunct each other. So I've played the default role of astrologer for many, many years. And I've recently realized that I don't have to be an astrology teacher. I can just be myself and follow my heart, follow my own inspiration, Leo in the 12th house. And right now, what's emerging on this path is music. I'm just focusing entirely on my deep calling from within to share music. And I'm finding that music and voice is Taurus. My voice is opening up more. And it's opening up because the existing doubt and sort of sense that I'm not worthy or I'm not capable to hold the truth in my body, right? To vibrate the truth in my body. I'm meeting that with more compassion. So a lot more space is opening up for me to share song. And then spontaneously the opportunities to teach. And it's this really interesting experience of all I have to do. And I'm experiencing something that I was sharing with, that I was exploring with Carolyn. It's like, can I even say this? Can it be this good? I'm noticing that this is true, but I have a lot of counter thoughts that come up, but I'm noticing that as well. All I seem to need to do is focus on being grounded, centered and balanced in my own being. Then everything else becomes self-evident, and what is needed, how I can offer myself fully, arises on its own. It comes to me. Or I'm, from the inside, I'm guided to explore a certain direction. So I'm experiencing an opening. My prayer, my practice, my devotion for this eclipse is to get more grounded in the song, to live life as a dance. Taurus is sensual. The life of journey, life is a journey, and that's the 9th house. So I want to be in my body. I want to feel the sensuality and the bliss and the celebration of this journey. And that's my devotion. I know that the ways in which I serve, as it comes from that beautiful sense of embodiment, can only bring me and everyone else more well-being. So that's what's unfolding for me. It's a level of confidence, and the confidence coincides with simultaneously letting go of needing to be who I've been trying to make myself, so I can actually just let myself be me, which is quite a mystery. But song has a lot to do with it. So that's and the South Node is in Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. This is a good example of fruitive dynamics. Aquarius is astrology. So I'm literally not doing a thing in terms of advertising. And it's just, the astrology is a gift that I come into this world with, that I've cultivated, I've connected with really early. I love it. I honor it. And it's just what I get to bring forth. Sun Uranus conjunction, Uranus ruling the 6th house. It's a form of service. But with that North Node Leo in the 12th, I don't have to make the intellectual astrology bit my life's path. It just gets to be there in service to the essence. So that's what I'm discovering right now.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I must have known to ask you. We have a lot of similarities. I've got Chiron and Taurus too. And I find, singing, it just makes me feel so good. It brings me into my body and I feel connected. But do you find that you critique your singing? Like some days it sounds better than others.
My experience with singing for me is forcing it. Sagittarius forces. It's like an idea of what it sounds like or what it could sound like, or a thought that maybe sounded really true in a moment, because in the moment it was like a realization. So trying to recreate an experience that alienates 9th house, me, from my throat, Taurus, and I'll experience neck pain literally if I sing and I'm not being authentic about it. So my biggest thing with song is getting quiet, getting still, and actually not holding song as an agenda, letting it happen, because that's what happens in stillness. So if we have time, I will sing a little bit as we head out.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Put these both these in.
Before you do, Carly, I
Yeah.
just wanted to agree with you because my moon is in Taurus and I critique. So I just wanted to agree before he does his thing.
Yes.
Can we join in with you?
Oh, of course. It's going to be difficult. You'll see what happens, but definitely join in. You'll see how it goes with the whole internet not being in the same place thing.
We'll try. Okay.
I'm open to the notion that emotion is devotion. And everything I feel in every moment is divine. I'm open to the notion that emotion is devotion. Everything I feel in every moment is divine. Oh, oh, this present moment. Da-dum, da-dum. This oh, 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 oh. This present moment. Da-dum, da-dum. And in the sanctuary of this moment, I am safe and held. In the sanctuary of this body, I am home. In the sanctuary of this moment, I am safe and held. In the sanctuary of this body, I am home. Oh, oh, this present moment. Da-dum, da-dum. This this present moment. Da-dum, da-dum. Ah-oh, ah-oh. This present moment. Da-dum, da-dum. This this present moment. Da-dum, da-dum. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Ari Moshe. That was wonderful. Thanks from all of us. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you, Ari.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ari. You're amazing soul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.